All right. Good day. Good day. I'm Adam Hart,
And I am Carl Swantoon.
and welcome. We are Clear Impact Coaching. Excited to have you here for another session. Carl, what are we going to be diving into today?
Well, we're going to talk about one area of wellness that is oftentimes overlooked when we think about our fitness, our wellness, our health, and that area is our environment.
Yep.
So I guess the first thing that comes to mind is, well, why would we want to look at our environment as an area of wellness? We all know that fitness is about exercising and dieting. So why environment, Adam?
Yeah, it's such a beautiful area of our wellness that we often miss and don't realize it. It has a massive impact on our ability to wake up every day feeling really excited, really happy about life, and it leads to this discussion, a deeper discussion around this idea of holistic and being really holistic in our approach to our wellness and not being so silo focused and
Right.
just one modality is going to get me to where I want it. When I was pre-diabetic, all I kept hearing was diet, 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 fitness, fitness, fitness. But yet my environment was quite toxic. So
Right. And so when we talk about holistic, it's the idea that our wellness is impacted by every way our physiology interacts with the world. And for sure, what we consume in terms of nutrition is important. And how we move and move our bodies as they evolve to be exercised is important. But there's so much more than that. So why, in broader terms, Adam, why a holistic approach to wellness and fitness instead of just work my ass off at the gym and come home and eat some healthy meals? Because we know that has a positive impact. So why do we want to take a broader, more holistic approach?
yeah, I think if we really pull back and think of us as an animal, as a species, what is it that's really going to help us to be the most vibrant as possible? And it has to be one where we think about our natural states, our natural ability to connect to our vitality in a way that encompasses all these beautiful areas and all the ways that we can connect to our natural way of being.
Right.
And I think we've lost touch, as we become very modernized and stressed a lot. It's hard to understand our natural way of connecting to our vitality.
Right.
And
So
each area supports each other. So it's
yeah, I think that's a key point. That's an absolute key point. Number one, like you say, it's our natural way of being. We evolved to be fit and healthy, interacting in so many different ways with our world, not just how we consume or how we move, but the environment we live in. But I think that point you just made at the end there is so important. Each area of wellness does support the others. Our sleep impacts our ability to get the benefit of exercise and the benefit of nutrition. Good nutrition supports our ability to get a good sleep. And so there's this intertwining of these different things we focus on. So we know that if we focus on really treating ourselves lovingly in every way, overall, we just feel better and it's easier, right? If I tell you, Adam, if you go to the gym 5 days a week and really pump that iron, you're going to build up some big muscles. But then if you go home and you just eat pizza and chocolate all night and don't sleep and watch Netflix all night, it's going to be difficult. You're going to be massively stressed. You may get bigger muscles, but you're not going to feel healthy. You're not going to feel fit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the key there, you mentioned the word stressed comes up a lot, and we're just not adapting to the amount of impact we're having on ourselves. And when we approach our wellness with a single focus, we don't realize it, but we are actually creating stress as well at the same time, because
Right.
a holistic approach and having an environment, which we'll obviously dive into, being a part of that, it's a way to help manage the way the body perceives stress in a way that makes all the other areas just start to seamlessly fit in
Right.
a way where it just feels right. And I know myself, and I'm sure you do too, but every time I was told, the diet for sure, but even the fitness, it's like the amounts of angst and frustration I would eventually feel from just being so focused on the one area. It's just, man, I feel worse.
Yeah, I
So
feel like that commitment. You have to stick to this commitment, and it just creates all this angst. Like if I don't do this, I'm gonna, completely be unhealthy. So
yeah,
um,
and also the discussion around that being the only way, and the idea of the environment, and when we start to tune into the environment and the aspects of wellness related to environment, they have a significant impact on how we experience life in a very
yeah,
beautiful way. A lot of us have just never heard about it in the way that we're going to talk about it. So it's great.
right. So before we dive into what we mean when we say environment, I want to step back to that point we made about evolution. I think in terms of our nutrition, we recognize that we evolved to eat, lots of plants and naturally growing animals and seafood and such. And because we changed that radically and started eating processed food with full of, salt and sugar and such, we now recognize, aha, that's not the right way to eat. We got to go back to how we naturally evolved to eat, and whether it's a Mediterranean, keto, whatever that combination is labeled as, it's a more natural way of eating. And the same thing with fitness. I think we recognize that just going to the gym and pumping ourselves full of steroids isn't, the natural the way of being. It's moving. It's finding things that we enjoy moving. So our environment is exactly the same way. If we look at it from what happened, we used to live in nature, really connected to the earth, impacted by beautiful fresh air and sunlight and all these things. And we've radically changed the environments we live in. And so when we talk about environment as a definition, what are we talking about? It's sort of every way we interact with the world external to us, and it all impacts our health. So Adam, maybe you can just enlighten us. What are sort of the key areas of our quote unquote environment that we focus on when we think about our wellness? Like, just
Yeah.
sort of let's list them off for us.
Well, before we do, I think it's important to recognize too that in the evolution of our society, and especially in North America, we spend 95%. That's a huge number. 95% of our time indoors. All right, and so that's in our cars, in our homes, in our offices. And so I think when you start to think about it in terms of our natural holistic way of being, is the internal environment and inside environment a natural way for us to be?
It is not.
And when we think about environment, you can start to think, okay, well, now what is different about this way of being now that we are caged inside, and what's wrong with that? And so obviously we're talking about things like light. We're talking about temperature. We're talking about air quality, water quality, electricity. Obviously, there's that lack of connection to nature. These are all huge impactors on our stress response that creates inflammation, that creates cravings, that creates hormonal imbalances, that creates driving monkey mind thoughts. And so we really want to understand the environment side of this in a powerful way.
Yeah, that's great. And it's subtle, isn't it? It's not like any of these things is an open fire that we're holding our hand over so we can react and go, okay, that's not good, that's bad. All of these affect us in a subtle, incipient way until they build up, until we're stressed, and we don't know why we're stressed. We're just distracted and brain fogged and all revved up.
And then when we try to fix something, we're told, or we choose to go on a diet or choose to go do a fitness program, when yet we don't even realize that the environment can be subtly tweaked in ways that we can have a massive impact on our stress response that gives us the solutions we're looking for.
Yeah. Now, before we move ahead, and we're going to dig into each one of these areas a little bit. If you are watching us on YouTube, please give us a subscribe. Hit the button at the bottom of the video here. Give us a like, give us a comment, and tell us what you think about the topic. We'd love to hear from you.
I love that you always remember that, because I never do.
So yeah, I mean, I think that a really great way to notice this in your own life, like I said, before we dive into each of these areas, is when you've been inside all day and you've chosen for whatever reason to go for a walk in the park or go for a little hike in the mountains or go down to the beach, to the lake, to the river, whatever. Notice how how good it feels just to get outside the door of your house or your office, or just to get out of your car if you've been driving for a while, and just to stretch and feel the sun on your face and feel the wind on your face and be outside. That's your body telling you something, that it craves that environment and not the one that we're we're pushing upon ourselves day in and day out. So let's if we can all buy into that idea that we put ourselves in these inside environments which aren't completely healthy for us. Let's talk about each of the areas of that. Adam, when we say light in terms of the health aspects of the light that we're exposed to, what do we mean by that?
Yeah, I think in terms of the actual temperature of the light that we get exposed to has a massive impact on our daily vitality. And so if we think about the advent of electricity and artificial light, that's really the when we really saw a big shift in how we as humans interact with the circadian rhythm, our natural 24-hour light cycle.
Right.
And so the indoor environment has a massive impact on how we biologically interact with that natural light cycle.
Right.
Right. And
so we evolved to be in the sunlight throughout the day and getting the different temperatures. When Adam says temperatures, he means in the morning, the light is a different temperature than the afternoon, than the evening. And those different color bands or temperatures of light cause us hormonally to either release cortisol, our awake hormone, or a stress hormone, if we get too much of it, and our melatonin, which is our sleep hormone. And so when we're connected to that sunlight in a regular way, and especially in the morning time, it allows us that circadian rhythm, our connection to light, to be regulated, allows us to sleep better, to digest better, to have more energy. And what we're doing in our internal environments is what? We're putting ourselves under artificial lights, which predominantly, at least all the old style, are 2 in the afternoon light. So as soon as we turn the lights on in the morning, we're telling our body, hey, it's 2 in the afternoon. You should be like this. And our bodies are like, what?
Yeah, but we don't realize it because it's just our natural state of being now, where we've lost touch to that beautiful, calm, peaceful flow state that we get to live with in the morning. If you turn on the lights right in the first thing, or grab your phone, first thing you're doing is you're revving up your nervous system. Your body's throwing cortisol and adrenaline to get you to wake up, because it reads that temperature of light as an afternoon light.
Right.
Saying, hey, we got to get going here. And so you're at a deficit immediately. You're inflamed immediately. You're craving all sorts of different things to help give you more energy. And
so give us one example, Adam, of a simple natural biohack we can do to impact the benefit or damage we're causing by the type of light we're under.
Well, there's a bunch, but if we want to avoid the idea of elimination, which we often do, then we're not saying don't have your phone or don't have the artificial lights. The simplest one is blue blocking glasses. These glasses, for me, if we're going to have lights on in the morning, this time of year, it's beautiful because we have more natural light really early. So it's great. Just open up your windows and let the light in. But otherwise, I have my blue blocking glasses on right away if there's artificial light going on. That's the easiest one. There's more. We've played around, especially in low light seasonal times, with red lights as our only source of light in the morning, or natural temperature light to help wake you up. Those are a couple of really easy ones to do.
Yeah, and for me, the simplest natural biohack to get back into connection with nature and how we evolved to interact with light is get outside as often as you can, without sunglasses, without glasses on, without a car window in the way, and get out in the sunshine as often as you can and reconnect to that. Everybody knows how good that feels.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know morning and night. It's really critical. I mean, melatonin production begins in the morning. The idea of having a good quality sleep is how you manage your exposure to artificial light first thing in the morning. Yeah. So yes, the morning is really important, but also in the evening, same idea. Mitigate the amount of blue light you have, or the temperature of that really, really intense white. It looks white, but it's got a blue spectrum to it. And you'll notice pretty quick, that's a massive, beautiful new contribution to your wellness that doesn't require just focused on a diet and a fitness program.
Yeah. Thank you. So moving on, temperature. This can be an uncomfortable one for many, but temperature is part of our environment, and the temperature we expose our bodies to day in, day out, evening, nighttime, and all of that. Let's go back to nature, Adam. How did we evolve to interact with the temperature? Did we
Yeah, I
manage
mean,
it?
again, it's based on where you obviously are located. So it's got a lot to do with the latitude of your location, but it's being
Yeah.
in constant fluctuation with the natural temperature, and usually in nighttime, evening, and overnight, it's a colder temperature, which helps the body to find a state of restful sleep. It's not a natural place for us to want to sleep in, being a bit cold.
These days, because we trained ourselves that we should always be warm.
Yeah,
It's we're sold comfort and convenience in this culture, and
yeah,
hey, if we can give you an opportunity, a heated house and warm blankets and space heaters and electric blankets and all these things to keep you warm all the time, that may feel more comfortable,
yeah,
but there's a powerful health benefit to exposing yourself, as Adam says, to fluctuating temperatures. But really, what that means is exposing ourselves, especially in northern and more extreme southern hemispheres, to cold, and
yeah.
being okay being a bit cold for a period of time, knowing that you can go warm up and you can put warmer clothes on or have a fire, or your space heater on or whatever. So
Yeah.
playing around with the cold, and commonly in health circles that's talked about as cold thermogenesis. But it can be as simple as, go outside when it's a little colder out, and be okay with it making you shiver a little bit and getting a little cold. Your body actually really likes that. Your physiology really likes the interaction with the cold temperature.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, cold thermogenesis for me, and I know a lot of folks know the idea of Wim Hof and what he's been up to and what he's shown. I mean, the ability to play with your nervous system stress response using temperature is really a powerful human experience that most of us will never even try once,
Because it's uncomfortable.
because it's uncomfortable. And the moment you put yourself in those moments of uncomfortability, you have the ability to grow, but you have to understand the biological experience to know what it is you're actually doing.
Yeah.
And for me, and I know for us and what we teach, it's about this constant relationship between the nervous system and the brain. And the more we train ourselves to feel into the uncomfortable, especially around temperature, we realize we actually have more access to our ability to feel abundant just
Yeah.
by noticing and playing with our own biology in that way. So temperature,
That's
it's a really cool one.
awesome. And next area, it's a little more subtle, maybe for some, but air or slash water quality. Maybe let's just focus on air quality. Why is our air quality so important, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, this is one too, like back in the day where I was so heavy into the food world and talked a lot about pesticide use, and you don't see pesticides, so you don't realize, well, wait a minute, that has a lot of carcinogens, a lot of fat soluble items that go into your body and stick there. And the same with air quality. I mean, we're talking a lot about VOCs, so volatile organic compounds, things that come from your carpet, things that come from your blinds. There's a lot of particulates that float around that we don't realize impacts our biology, and we want to just be mindful of the quality of air and just having some connection to natural air, opening up a window. This again related to the sleep idea, having a window open. Yes, temperature is going to shift, but also having fresh air is going to help with the sleep quality.
Right. So air is it's about impurities, and we can all jump on the bandwagon of we don't want to be around car exhaust and too much pollution from industrial production and from vehicles in the cities and such. But there's also the component of depleted oxygen, and which you just brought up. If we sit inside an enclosed space and we don't have any windows open, you think about your office that has windows that don't open, and that oxygen gets depleted by 20-30%. It's not an ideal place for our physiology. We need oxygen for so many functions in the body, obviously staying alive being the first. But that quality is important, and it's one of those things that, again, it's very subtle. You don't notice it right away, but I can't sleep anymore without having a window open, even if it's really cold. It just feels so good to have that fresh air.
And again, I think one of the first consequences of poor air circulation is brain fog. But you live your life with the way you live, and you don't realize, that's maybe your experience is, oh man, how come I'm losing my focus all the time? How come I'm feeling tired? Meanwhile, air quality is a major contributor to that. But yet we turn to focus on diet and exercise as ways to try and fix those kinds of things, where it could be as simple as opening up a window is going to help alleviate some of the internal stress response to the lack of quality air in a way where you
Yeah.
feel a benefit right away.
Yeah. Water quality, of course, is another huge can of worms because we
Yeah,
have taps and we have water that comes out of a tap. We immediately think, oh, great, water comes out of a tap. It's good. It's water. Water is just water. And
yeah,
we know now that it's not. There's many different aspects to water in its structure, in its content, in the trace minerals in it, and so many things. And we won't get into it now because this would be a 2-hour talk if we started to. But
and
again,
I don't have the expertise in that, but maybe one day we bring somebody on. But that
yeah,
definitely is that's an Alice in Wonderland hole that we would go down for sure. And it's
and so dependent on where you live. You know, some
yeah,
of us are blessed with good local sources of spring water that aren't have fluoride added or chlorinated or any of these things that really do impact the quality of our water. So
yeah.
let's move on and talk about electricity, Adam. Outside of light, how
Yeah.
why is electricity and our exposure to electrical voltage important?
Yeah, I think that, I put electricity, I would probably throw Wi-Fi in there as well.
Yeah, sure, it's an electric signal. Yeah,
Yeah, just all of that, and I know we heard of the term maybe dirty electricity, but there's a lot of excess electric voltage that we're receiving, whether it's your feet by your power bar under your desk, which you don't even, again, it's something we don't see, so we don't really think that it has an impact.
right.
But yet it's silently revving up the nervous system without you knowing, which is depleting your energy, depleting your mitochondrial function, creating inflammation, getting your brain into a state of fatigue also. And so, yeah, having an understanding that the location of your Wi-Fi and all your electrical gadgets and whatnot does have an impact on how you feel.
Yeah. And I think the greatest example of this, again, for anybody, when you do get out in nature, when you do go on a hike or get out camping or get to a lake or whatever, it just feels overall calmer. I know when I was traveling a lot, when I was down in the Amazon, when I flew back to Vancouver, and Vancouver's a beautiful city, it's a pretty green city compared to many, but man, did it ever feel electrical and man-made as opposed to this beautiful, calm, natural setting. And so when we talk about our exposure to electricity, again, we don't see it, we don't necessarily feel it. Certainly if you stand under power lines, you can maybe feel that static electricity or feel that hum, but spend a bunch of time in nature and then go back into a city and notice sort of the subtlety of what you're feeling. So
It's huge. It's
yeah.
huge. Like I didn't realize electrosensitivity is a real thing. And I didn't realize how sensitive I was until I started to mitigate it.
Right.
And when I started to tune into my natural, calm, parasympathetic state with not nearly as much stress as I used to live with, that's when I really noticed the electrosensitivity that I have. And I think we all have it. We just don't know the feeling difference to know that it's an impactor.
Right. And what is the go-to for us if we want to share a couple of hacks here and natural biohacks? What's the number one go-to to mitigate? If you live in a city, you live in a town, you're going to be getting, there's power lines, there's Wi-Fi signals, there's your phone that's sitting at your hip, and, you're on your computer. You're going to be exposed to more electricity. So what is the number one
Well, I think there's two
biohack we use?
There's two big ones. Well, one, I would say location of your devices. So don't have a power bar right under your feet. Try and get it up on the side somewhere so it's not not off gassing, but off loading on you. Even your location of your router, your Wi-Fi. I'm looking around my office as I say that because I've been very particular of where I put those things. But I think the big one is for me is grounding. It's getting the discharge of the static electricity and getting the free electrons from the earth to offset. I mean, the moment I go outside, put my bare feet on the ground, it's like it's an instant feeling of just release, peace and calm. And and I'm curious what you say on that front.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Obviously, there's this sense of it's like taking a deep breath and exhaling. It's like your body exhales all the electricity. And I think a simple way to understand this, and again, this may sound foreign to a lot of people, is every single major appliance you have in your house has got a 3-prong plug, and that third round prong at the top is called a ground wire, a ground connection. And that's important because if we don't have that for major appliances, they build up excess voltage in the metal in them, and it makes them unhealthy, and they will stop working and they will explode and you will have fires and those sorts of things. Well, our nervous system is an electric-based electromagnetic system. So if we know that exposure to electricity creates that excess voltage in anything that's a conductor, because we are so fluid, we are a conductor of electricity. So it makes sense that we're also going to store that. And how do we ground? The same way an appliance does. We connect ourselves to the earth, which is what that plug is doing, and why they sell things like grounding mats, which I know, Adam, you've got underneath your desk right now, is to release that excess voltage. And the simple way to do it is go get barefoot on the ground outside. Doesn't matter if it's cold, wet, hot, anything, just go get barefoot.
And you don't need to be out there for hours. It's not like a yoga practice or a meditation of 20 minutes. It's go out for like a minute, 2 minutes. It's all we need to start to connect to our vitality this way.
Right.
And I see it when I bring my kids outside, and, it's the same as what you mentioned earlier, Carl. Like, the minute you go outside, even if you're not grounding, just being outside, you get this sense of, okay, there's some peace available here. You want to really see it at work. Bring your kids out, and you see how sometimes, my kids are 7 and 10, they're bouncing off the walls. I take them outside. All of a sudden it's like, ooh, okay, there's space for them to do their thing, but there's also an element of joy and just love of life that you feel when they're in nature.
Yeah. And that leads to our last point, which is nature. And, certainly this is an accumulation of all the rest, because nature has for us all of those aspects of environment that our body craves. Why? Because we evolved as like any other animal in nature over tens and thousands of years to be synchronous, to be aligned with nature, with our environment, for our best health. So it makes absolute sense that when we think about environment as it relates to our wellness, we think about nature, and nature as being the biggest tool in our tool belt, in all of these areas that we've talked about. Adam, what's your experience, and how have you developed your lifestyle so it allows you to take advantage of that powerful tool?
Oh boy. I mean, everything about my life has evolved to have nature as a big component. But I think for those of us who recognize that we do spend a lot of time indoors, it's how can we bring that indoors a little bit? Right. Yes, we want you to get outside. We want you to ground. We want you to spend as much as you can out in the natural environment. But if you really want to feel the power of nature and you just don't have the ability to get outside, or your mind is telling you, just bring it indoors. Get some oxygenating plants in your office, in your home, put one in your car. I mean, whatever you got to do to bring elements of nature into the indoor environment is you're gonna notice. And there's tons of science on this, and whether it's from hospital rooms that have a picture of nature or have a window with nature, just the healing ability of being around it. It's
cracking a window open, always having a window open and getting your fresh air. And if you can't do that, if you live in 30 below weather, having an ionizer or something that's cleaning your oxygen and putting more, fresh air in your room. Like you say, the right type of plants. What is it? A spider plant? There's certain plants that are really good at offloading lots of oxygen for you.
Yeah.
And but I think the number one rule is be outside as often as you can. Get out in nature. If you're getting a break at work, don't go to the lunchroom and eat a bologna sandwich on white bread and mustard. Go outside and eat an apple instead. I mean, it's little stuff. Being fit and well isn't about all these big commitments. It's about a lifestyle, and it's about the little aspects of your lifestyle that all add up to creating that feeling of abundance, and to really creating that inner strength and resilience to transform your quality of life to something that you're excited to live each day.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. So if right now your mind is really stuck on where you are around your mental health, your physical health, and your mind keeps telling you to get on another diet, get on another fitness program. Okay, but let's consider your environment as part of that. This idea of the holistic approach. Consider your sleep, consider your relationships, those that you're spending the most amount of time with. Consider all these other elements that play a huge role in being able to wake up every day feeling as abundant as you want to feel, because they all have a big impactor. And a lot of them you can start to clean up in beautiful ways without having to be over committing to something that's going to create stress on your nervous system.
Awesome.
And make your mind even crazier. And in the environment is one beautiful way that we can play around with our daily vitality.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Adam. Life is awesome and it happens in the moment. So notice your moments, and how are you choosing your moments to support your best quality of life.
Oh yeah.
Thanks very much. Have a spectacular day.
Thanks, guys.